is actually Sunday evening. It is uh, October 12th, 2025. It is like 7 p.m., 6 p.m. And I have a weekend review for you. Like I said, it's evening. I was gone pretty much all day, and I was gone pretty much all day yesterday. But I did want to get this done because not only did I read 6 books last week, but I got more than 6 books in. I'm thinking, I'm working, I'm thinking, I'm constantly thinking and working, and I'm constantly saying I'm thinking I'm working, and I never put anything in place. So I'm aware. But I did read 6 books this past week, plus I watched a movie, so I think it is safe to say we are absolutely back. Um, so let's get into it. The first one I read for the last 10 years, this came out in 2022. It is my own book. This is Like Hell. This is the new cover of Like Hell. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's better than the previous one is. Like Hell follows uh, Brendan, who is a it takes place in 3 timelines. So first he's 13, then he's 17, then he's 23. And it's about Brendan, who is very close friends with this other kid named Drew. And Drew has a really shitty home life. And the book kind of kicks off when Brendan sends Drew's mom's boyfriend to jail because he goes and finds a cop when he knows that this guy is going to be beating on Drew. And it's about revenge. I always like to talk about this one as it's about um, friendship, revenge, and killing your mom's boyfriend. I'm gonna read the first page to you. Drew is trouble. That's what their mother says, that's what their teachers say, and that's what the law says. Hell, that's what Drew's own mother says. Brendan doesn't know how many times him and Christian have been over at Drew's, and Drew's mom walks past smoking a cigarette and ruffles Drew's hair. She'll speak around her cigarette. Watch out for this one, Brendan, he's trouble. Brendan doesn't think that he's all that better, to be completely honest. He lives with his younger brother, Christian, technically half-brother. Their mother's not exactly known for being picky about men or having safe sex. His mother and his grandmother in a beat-up old house that his grandmother has owned since before Vietnam. Drew lives 3 streets away in the bad trailer court. I love this one. I don't think that I promote it as much, but it is genuinely one of my favorites. So pick this one up. It's on Kindle Unlimited, paperback, regular Kindle. It is what it is. All right, the next book I finished is a classic, and for this one I read it for Around the World. It takes place in Europe. I read The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is not the first time I've read The Picture of Dorian Gray. I read it, I think, right either in my senior year of high school or when I was fresh out of high school. But The Picture of Dorian Gray follows Dorian Gray, and Dorian Gray is currently he's a muse for this young artist. And he's an alright little guy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He's fine. He's very pretty. He's maybe a little dense, but there's nothing wrong with him. And then Lord Henry, gets his claws into him and just corrupts him completely. And I genuinely, in my heart and soul, genuinely believe that the real villain of the story is fucking Henry, man. Like Dorian is not great, especially as the story goes on and he gets older. But would any of this have happened without Henry? No, it wouldn't have. But it was a fun time. It dragged sometimes. Wilde does sometimes go around in circles in a way that you're like, okay, get to the point, please. But he does have lots of witticisms. I mean, it's Wilde. He's very witty. I give it 4.75 out of 5 stars. It's not my favorite classic, but it is a fun time. All right, then I read the first of 2 Kindle books. I finished up, finally, Full Brutal by Christopher Triana. I read this for the last 10 years as well, about 2018. Full Brutal follows Kim White, who is a cheerleader, perfect all-American girl with a dark secret. She really is so bored with her life unless she's seeing people get hurt, degraded, humiliated, or in other ways broken. And she ends up deciding, like, you know what? I'm not going to feel fulfilled unless I can do this to people too. And thus begins her spree of hurting and destroying everybody she can get her little hands on. It was better than a lot of extreme horror, I think. I think Triana is definitely in the upper echelon here. Was it that great? I don't know. I don't know how much I actually really enjoyed it. I think that it was unique in a lot of ways. There was a lot of really latent lesbianism in Kim, I think. And I do wish that she would have, I don't know, even though it was a female killer, I think that latent lesbianism really did mean that the victims, there were a couple of male victims, but the real victims were really still who was what gender was being disproportionately humiliated and abused? It was still women. And Triana's a man. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I think it probably does. And that's not the only reason I didn't really like this one. Again, is the writing better than most extreme horror? Yes. Is it good? No. I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Would I read from Triana again? Yes. Am I going to make it a point to do so soon? No. Then I read a graphic novel. I read this for adaptations graphic novel, and that is Sweet Valley Twins, the graphic novel Best Friends. What I appreciate about this is that even though this is a graphic novel for children, Jessica is still a bitch. So this is a graphic novel adaptation of the Sweet Valley Twins books, the first one, which is more geared towards children than the kind of middle school, young adult that the Sweet Valley High books are geared towards. This one, Elizabeth and Jessica are 6th graders, and Jessica is starting to want to be more of her own person, and she's a bitch about it constantly. I'm like, well, some things never change. I enjoyed reading this more than I enjoy reading a Sweet Valley High book. I think that's just because it's quicker and I don't have to read bad writing because it's a graphic novel. I mean, granted, graphic novels can have bad writing, but it's like all dialogue. I give it 3.75 out of 5 stars. This is going to my classroom for sure. Alright, then I watched a movie, and this is technically a rewatch. This is a very nostalgic movie for me. I watched Labyrinth, which is a phenomenal movie. It's from like 1985 or something like that. Labyrinth, if you're unaware, is about this young girl who, in a fit of spoiled rage at having to babysit her younger brother, she wishes that the Goblin King, who's David Bowie, would take him away. And the Goblin King does. And so then she goes through this massive labyrinth with lots of like traps and weird creatures, and everything is practical and sets, and it's beautiful. It's genuinely, when I talk about wanting to see movies that look like movies, Labyrinth is exactly what I'm talking about. I love the puppets. It's a Jim Henson movie. That's why there's so many puppets. I love the sets. I just love it. I think it's so beautiful. I think it's so beautiful. I had a lot of fun rewatching this. It was very nostalgic as well as just wonderfully made. I had a great time. If you haven't seen Labyrinth, you should. All right, then for series Staircase, this is under trilogy. There are like 6 books in the series, but I can count the first 3 as trilogy and use that for that. I read Loudmouth by Thomas Carver. This is the first book in the Jocks Are Jerk series, which is a male erotica series following this just little bitch of a guy, Logan, who is a radio host for a college radio station. And what he does is he just makes fun of people on the station. And as a result, nobody really likes him because he's a terrible little guy. And you can tell he's very deeply insecure about everything. But anyway, he likes to make fun of jocks more than anything else. And after an inopportune run-in with the entire football team, who have decided they're kind of sick of him, he ends up striking a weird kind of deal with the quarterback of the football team, and I liked it. It is erotica. It is absolutely erotica. That is its intended purpose. That is what it was written for. I would honestly, I think after I finish these 6 books, I would absolutely read more from Thomas Carver, because I think he's found his little niche, and he knows what he's into, and he's like, hell yeah, this is what I'm gonna write. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. That is a very, very subjective rating, though. It worked for me. This is erotica. It might not work for you. I had fun with it though, and I do have all 6 books on my Kindle, so I'm glad I liked it because I've locked it in for my trilogy for series Staircase. And the last thing, okay, so this book, I use it for disability rep, and the disability I used it for was obesity, and this is kind of rude, honestly. This is kind of a rude one that I'm doing here. So I decided to do Thinner by Stephen King. And Thinner is a Stephen King book that has not aged super well. The entire premise hasn't aged super well. I think that it does try to discuss these things in a way that's semi, respectful, but Thinner follows this man, Billy Halleck, and he is extremely overweight. He's obese. By today's standards, I don't think he would be considered so. But when this was published, he's like 260 pounds, and he's like 6 feet tall. And again, by today's standards, that's not anything out of the ordinary, whether you think that's good or bad. And he, accidentally hits an old Romani woman, as he's driving home. And now Billy is a lawyer, and he's got friends in high places, so he pretty much gets off scot-free. And this whole book does revolve around Romani curses. except for this book was published in 1984, and they don't call them that. Um, Billy's curse is that he starts getting skinny. And at first this is great because he's like, I was obese, this is great, I don't have to work for it, it's wonderful, but then he keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. So he's like, okay, I gotta I gotta fix this. And what I like about this book is just how batshit fucking crazy it is. I love, like, the mafia's there. There's a guy whose face slides off. It's just so crazy and wild and fun. This is a Bachman book. The copy that I keep around is a hardcover that just says Richard Bachman on the front. This was a little paperback that just slipped into the book wall one day. Was one of my first Stephen King books. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's genuinely a really fun book, and I genuinely really enjoy reading it. Again, it hasn't aged super well. So if you're sensitive, don't read it. And I'm not saying that like don't be so sensitive. I'm saying that, like, if you are sensitive to these things, maybe don't read this book, or maybe read this book with the distance of, like, going in being aware that it has not aged very well in a lot of ways. I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. So when it comes to what I'm getting rid of, I'm keeping these two. I'm getting rid of this. This is going to my classroom. This is going to go up on eBay at some point. So that is where we're at with that. We are keeping all of these, and now the book haul. So the first the first 4 books are new editions of my Pentology books. I have completely finished the Pentology series. I am now working on Circus Wings. And these ones, oh, they're nice. The first, I got Circus Wings in. Oh, it's a nice it's so nice. The cover's so nice. They're expensive though, so it might take me a little bit longer to do them. The Pentology ones were like 20 bucks a piece. The Circus Wings ones are more expensive than that. But so finishing it up, I guess technically have all of them because I don't have Seeing Straight here yet, but it is up. So this is the new cover for Iscariot, and now yes, you can get a paperback of Iscariot that is not double spaced. So you're welcome. I finally went in and fixed that. But this is Iscariot. This is book 1. I also, right here is book 5. This is what Son of Perdition looks like. Book 5 in the Pentology of Hell. Gorgeous, beautiful. And then 2 companion novels. This is what Buyer looks like. I did decide to go in and actually really kind of put this in with the Pentology. I mean, it is a Pentology book, but it was technically kind of in the same style as the other ones, but I did more concretely put it in with the Pentology books. And then another kind of companion-y one, or I guess number 6 is what it says up here, Class B. So now this is done. Again, Seeing Straight should be coming this week at some point. But the Pentology series is now completely done with completely new covers. I'm very happy with them. All right, so emotionally, I was not doing great this week or last week. So we have books to talk about. I did pick up Horns by Joe Hill. And I have never read Horns. The only book by Joe Hill I've read 21st Century Ghosts or The Black Phone a couple times, and I read Heart-Shaped Box. Joe Hill is kind of looking like he's being groomed by himself to become the heir to the throne that his father is going to leave likely very soon. So I figured I would pick up his backlist. I am not like super into Harry Potter, okay? Like I really liked them as a kid. Because I was the right age for that. And I do still have a set. I don't talk about them often. They're not really a big part of my personality anymore. But I was like got by the hype of this book that did come out very recently. And I have never been one to be reading Harry Potter fan fiction. Like my fan fiction days and my Harry Potter days did not overlap at all. But I did pick up a copy of Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu, which is a repackaged Harry Potter fan fiction that has been made into its own thing. And I don't think that the constant repackaging of fan fiction to make their own things is like super great in terms of copyright. I think that there's a lot of gray areas there that are being run over a lot. But I was really curious. So I picked up a copy, and I think it's kind of pretty. Actually, it's kind of a beautiful book. I'm not gonna lie. So I did get Alchemized. I also picked up, so my brother has been talking about these books for the past several weeks, like a couple of months. My brother recently got into Discworld. And then my father got into Discworld, and then my mother, she's trying to get into Discworld. But she's like, the last book I finished was the Buffalo Hunter Hunter, and it was so good, and this is not. And I know that I've heard you don't want to read them like in order, that they put like don't read book one first, and you don't have to read them in any order at all. But I'm gonna read them in order, okay? So I did get The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. And I know that this is not like the best one. I know that it's, in terms of the series, it's pretty low on the totem pole of being the best. But I'm going in aware of that, and so then I will not give up on a series after book one, you know. So I did pick up this, and I'll read it at some point. Then I've been really into My Chemical Romance recently. It's not a new thing, but recently as well. I picked up Not the Life It Seems, The True Lives of My Chemical Romance by Tom Bryant. This is just like when I was really into those 80s heavy metal memoirs. It literally is, but I got this. I wonder, oh yeah, there's pictures. Oh yeah, there's pictures in here. Hell yeah. Okay. Um, then I also picked up a couple of other random books at the same time. I picked up these ones. I picked up The Other Side of the Ocean by J.D. Netto. J.D. Netto sounds really familiar, honestly. I don't know what else they wrote. What else did they write? It's Whispers of the Fallen? Is that what I'm remembering? I don't know. But this is a queer YA coming of age, coming out kind of story. And I also finally picked up my first T. Kingfisher book. I've been really intrigued by T. Kingfisher because she seems to be everywhere, or they seem to be everywhere. Let me look. She seems to be everywhere. And so I did pick up Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. I have, I think, some other T. Kingfisher books coming as well in the mail, because she's so prolific, and I'm always really intrigued by authors when they're so prolific. So I did pick this up. And then I picked up The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. It remains that the only full-length Ray Bradbury that I've read is Fahrenheit 451. I've read that several times, and I love Fahrenheit 451, but I haven't read anything else. And this is one that's like technically a children's book, I think. So this is one I can put in my classroom afterward. I also picked up another children's book. I've got Starfish by Lisa Phipps, which I just want to read before I put in the classroom. It is in verse, which is kind of nice. I picked up a couple books from Barnes & Noble because Long Live Evil you could get for $5 if you bought something else. So I also bought The Mad Wife. So I have these. And then when I was at my parents' house this weekend, my mother gave me 3 books. She was like, did you ever read the Outlander books? And I was like, no. And she was like, have the first 3 Outlander books. So here's the first 3 Outlander books. So there's that. Are there going to be more books this week? Absolutely. But again, as always, I have little plans and thoughts in my head that may or may not come to fruition. But that's everything. I'll talk to you later. And goodbye.